When you think of a smart person, what do you picture? Someone who reads a lot of books, always at the top of the class, or the type who always seems to have the right answer? Well, sounds reasonable. But here's something interesting and a bit counterintuitive. Truly intelligent people aren't defined by what they do, but by what they choose not to do. While most people are trying to add more, learn more, do more, push harder, those who are genuinely sharp are playing a completely different game. They focus on removing. They cut out habits that make their thinking worse. They avoid reactions that make them lose control. And they eliminate things that most of us don't even realize are problems. And here's the kicker. A lot of those behaviors you're probably doing every single day. In this video, we're going to go through 6 things highly intelligent people never do. And make sure you stick around until the end, because number 6 might be the very thing quietly holding back the way you think and limiting your growth, without you even realizing it. Point 1. They never fall into the multitasking trap. Most intelligent people protect something even more valuable than time: the calm, quiet state of a mind focused on one single task. While modern society treats multitasking as a top-tier skill, a must-have in job descriptions, sharp thinkers see it in a completely different way. To them, multitasking isn't an advantage. It's a trap. And if you don't control it, it will slowly wear down your ability to think, day by day. They refuse to do multiple things at once, not because they can't, but because they deeply understand a psychological phenomenon that most people underestimate: attention residue. This concept was identified and proven through multiple studies by Dr. Sophie Leroy. She found that the human brain doesn't work like a parallel processing system. It works more like a projector. And at any given moment, it can only play one movie. What you think is multitasking is actually just switching back and forth between tasks very quickly. But here's the problem. Every time you switch, you never come back fully. Never. A part of your attention stays stuck on the previous task. Even if it's just 10 seconds to check your phone, reply to a message, or glance at a notification, you've left a small piece of your awareness behind. And those small pieces build up into something called attention residue. Every time you switch tabs, every time you get interrupted, you leave a part of your brain behind. So when you return to your main task, you're no longer operating at 100%. You're still working, but you're not as sharp. You're still focusing, but not as deeply. Think about a very typical work morning. You open your laptop and start something important, but your phone is right next to you. A message pops up. You reply quickly, then go back. A new email comes in. You check it, then go back. Another notification. You glance again. And just like that, you feel busy, very productive. But by the end of the day, you're exhausted. And your work is still unfinished, shallow, lacking depth. Highly intelligent people don't let themselves fall into that state. They don't try to do more. They cut things out. They design their environment to remove distractions. When they work, the phone disappears. Unrelated tabs are closed. No notifications. No interruptions. Just one single task. They accept that, on the surface, they might look slower than others, replying to messages later, showing up less often, seeming less busy. But in return, they gain something most people lose: absolute focus. To them, doing 3 things at once isn't a skill. It's the fastest way to do all 3 poorly. And they're willing to trade the feeling of being busy for something far rarer: true sharpness of mind. Point 2. They never use their brain like a storage device. The sharpest thinkers operate on one core philosophy. The brain is for processing information, not storing it. They never force their short-term memory to carry small tasks like buy milk this afternoon, send that email at 3 p.m., or remember to call a partner. Don't get it wrong. It's not that they don't trust their memory. It's that they clearly understand a psychological principle called the Zeigarnik Effect. Most of us have experienced this. You're driving, suddenly remember something you need to do, and tell yourself, I'll remember this. But at that exact moment, an open loop is created in your mind. Psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik discovered that the brain tends to fixate on and remember unfinished tasks much more strongly than completed ones. These pending tasks are like background apps on your phone. You don't see them, but they constantly drain your RAM. They create a subtle sense of tension and restlessness that makes it hard to focus on the present. You're playing with your child, but thinking about that unsent email. You're having dinner, but worrying about tomorrow morning's meeting. Smart people refuse to live in that constant energy leak. They follow David Allen's philosophy. Your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. They treat their brain like a processor used for analyzing, connecting, and creating, not like a hard drive for storing random tasks. Whenever a task or idea pops up, they immediately get it out of their head by writing it down in a notebook or a trusted note-taking app. That simple act sends a signal to the nervous system. The data is safely stored. You can stop holding on to it. So what's the difference? While most people exhaust themselves trying to remember everything, intelligent people move through life with a mind that feels light and clear. They don't spend energy trying to remember what to do next. They use all of that energy to do the task in front of them as well as possible. Point 3. They never rush to conclusions. In complex situations or when facing conflicting information, truly intelligent people are often the only ones in the room willing to stay quiet. They don't rush to conclusions or immediately pick a side just to satisfy the crowd. This comes from having a high level of what's called tolerance for ambiguity. Most people, on the other hand, have a natural fear of uncertainty. Psychology calls this the need for cognitive closure, a concept studied in depth by psychologist Ari Kruglansky. When faced with something unclear, the brain creates a strong feeling of tension and anxiety. To get rid of that discomfort, people tend to grab the first answer that comes to mind, even if it's based on shallow assumptions or incomplete information. The crowd isn't chasing what's right, they're chasing relief. And uncertainty is one of the most uncomfortable feelings, so they rush to any conclusion just to feel at ease. Imagine a workplace situation where revenue suddenly drops. Most people will immediately look for someone to blame. Maybe the marketing team is weak or the competition is too strong. Finding a reason right away makes them feel like the problem is under control. But intelligent people don't do that. They understand that the world is full of gray areas, and the most valuable truths are often hidden behind uncertainty. They're willing to let the problem sit unresolved. They gather more data, listen to different perspectives, and avoid labeling things as right or wrong too quickly. Nobel Prize-winning scientist Daniel Kahneman described this as the ability to hold back System 1 thinking, fast, emotional, in order to activate System 2 thinking, slow, logical. For them, intelligence isn't about who answers the fastest. It's about who can stay calm in the middle of chaos without needing an immediate answer. They slow down to move in the right direction. They stay quiet to observe more deeply. That pause, what others might call indecisive, is actually where the smartest decisions are made. Point 4. They never pretend to know what they don't know. Pay close attention to this because it's one of the clearest lines between true intelligence and a fragile ego. When asked a question they don't know the answer to, most people fall into one of 3 reactions: making up something that sounds reasonable, giving a vague and empty response, or changing the subject. Why? Because deep down, we're afraid of saying 3 simple words. I don't know. We tend to see a lack of knowledge as weakness, as a loss in front of others. But sharp thinkers do the exact opposite. They calmly and comfortably say, I'm not sure about that. I need to look into it before I can give you an answer. Why can they say that so easily? Because they understand a core truth. Pretending to be knowledgeable doesn't hide ignorance. It locks you into it. Acting like a know-it-all is like wearing armor that looks like confidence but is actually made of paper. Intelligent people have a powerful trait called intellectual humility. Think of the mind like a glass of water. When you pretend to know everything, you're putting a lid on that glass. No new knowledge can get in. But when you're honest enough to say, I don't know, you open that lid. You turn gaps in your knowledge into open doors instead of walls. For them, not knowing isn't a threat to their ego. It's the starting point of curiosity. And that honesty is what allows their mind to keep learning, growing, and evolving. Point 5. They never surround themselves only with people who agree with them. At first, this might sound like it goes against basic human instinct, but it's actually one of the biggest secrets behind real growth. By nature, we all crave safety and validation. We're naturally drawn to people who think like us and nod along with everything we say. Being around people who always agree with you feels like wrapping yourself in a warm blanket on a cold day. It's safe, it's comfortable. But intelligent people recognize the hidden danger of that comfort. If you only spend time with people who praise your ideas, your thinking slowly becomes lazy and trapped inside an echo chamber. That's why they intentionally choose a harder path. They actively seek out people who are willing to challenge them in a respectful way. They welcome those who can point out flaws in their thinking and force them to see things from a different perspective. Why would they willingly choose that kind of discomfort? Think of your thinking like a muscle. Muscles don't grow by lifting something light every day. They need resistance. They need to be pushed and stretched to rebuild stronger. In the same way, intelligence doesn't grow in a room full of nodding heads. It's sharpened through what you could call cognitive friction. Real growth happens when someone pushes you to defend your ideas, dig deeper, and sometimes completely tear down your old beliefs to rebuild better ones. Intelligent people don't see being proven wrong as a personal attack. Instead of getting defensive, they see it as a win, because the moment they admit they're wrong, they've just removed a blind spot and upgraded their thinking to a sharper version. Point 6. They never consume information passively. This is probably the sweetest and most dangerous trap of the 21st century, and it's quietly holding back millions of people without them even realizing it. Modern society encourages us to consume as much information as possible. Many people proudly say they read 50 books a year, listen to podcasts every day while driving, and spend hours watching videos about finance, business, or psychology on YouTube. Every time they nod along to a smart explanation, they feel good. They believe, I'm learning. I'm becoming smarter than people who just watch entertainment. But truly intelligent people understand a harsh truth. Passive consumption doesn't make you smarter. In fact, it creates a mental state called the illusion of competence. Dr. Jeffrey Karpicki, a researcher in cognitive science, has shown this clearly. When you read something well-written or listen to someone speak smoothly, your brain easily recognizes the information. That smooth experience tricks you into thinking the knowledge is now yours. You can test this right now. After listening to a 1-hour podcast, if someone asks you to stand up, without notes, and explain the 3 main ideas in your own words, could you do it? Most people would stumble. Their mind goes blank. All they're left with is a vague feeling that it was really good. That's the illusion of competence. You mistake the speaker's clarity for your own understanding. People with deep intelligence approach learning in a completely different way. They're not obsessed with quantity. They might spend a whole month on just one book. But here's the difference. They don't just consume it. They wrestle with it. After finishing a chapter or learning a concept, they pause. They close the book. And they force their brain to work. They ask themselves, what did the author actually say? Can I apply this to my current work? Can I explain this to a 10-year-old in simple terms? That act of pulling information out of your mind and putting it into your own words, even if it's messy or difficult, is where real learning happens. Intelligence isn't built when you passively absorb information. It's created the moment you actively shape that information inside your own mind. So instead of mindlessly scrolling through hundreds of articles just to feel informed, intelligent people choose to break down and truly master a single idea. They don't want to be a storage box of data. They want to be the sharpest user of it. When you connect all 6 of these points, a very clear picture starts to appear. Exceptional intelligence isn't some natural gift that falls from the sky. It's the result of quiet, consistent choices to eliminate things. Choices that sharp thinkers make every single day. While the world keeps pushing us to take on more, react faster, and fill every empty space, they choose to step back. They remove multitasking to protect deep focus. They free their minds from small, trivial tasks to make room for creativity. They hold back from rushing so truth has time to reveal itself. They drop the know-it-all mask to open the door to real curiosity. They break away from the comfort of constant agreement to seek the kind of friction that helps them grow. And finally, they reject the illusion of passive consumption and choose to actively shape knowledge for themselves. True intelligence isn't about the ability to add more. It's about the courage to remove. It's the ability to say no to the habits that quietly drain your clarity. The most important question isn't what new thing you're going to add tomorrow. It's this: starting tomorrow, do you have the courage to cut out just one habit from these 6 to free your mind? Leave a comment below and share which one made you rethink yourself the most. Self-awareness is the very first step on the path to excellence. If this video sparked something inside you, share it with people you truly care about. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep exploring the human mind together. Thank you for listening. I'm Apex. See you next time.